Welcome to the Forward Marketing Podcast, the podcast that covers internet marketing strategies and leadership tactics to move your business forward. With your host, Joshua Jarvis. Hey, and welcome back to the Forward Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Joshua Jarvis, and I'm just super excited about today's episode. I wonder how many times over the course of last year I've said super excited. Maybe I need a new word. If you can think of some new words for me to say, you can go ahead and email me at joshua@forwardmarketing.com. I will take that into consideration. Last week we talked about the steps to creating viral content, and that's an acronym for social. What was it? I'm doing this from memory. It's social currency, which was like the exclusivity one. Triggers, which is like behavior and habits. Emotion was E, and that was pretty self-explanatory, using the passion and the why behind what people wanted. The P was politics or news, and that could be trend-worthy news. And then I know S was stories because people do stories. And then what was P? I'm trying to think of what P was. I'm going to have to cheat and look at my notes and say practical value. Oh, that was applications. Surely he could have made a better acronym than STEPS with all the different possibilities that I just mentioned. But in any case, I thought when I read that, I thought, oh, that's really cool. A great guide to have an acrostic or an acronym that you could use as a way to sort of evaluate the content you're posting before it gets posted, whether you're on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, any of that you're actually creating value. And that's really what STEPS forms up to. Does it add value? But sometimes you can add value and it not go viral, right? So the steps are the things that have gone viral. Those are the things that are most likely to go viral. And that's what we talked about last week. The week before last, I think we talked about, we've been talking about growth hacking. We talked about landing pages before that. We talked about how Instagram works, and then we talked about steps. So that's the last few weeks of the episodes. If you want to go back and listen, I always love it when I log in and see my stats and see that people are actually going back and listening to old episodes. It really makes me excited to continue to do this. But today's episode I'm pretty excited about because Facebook is one of the topics that you guys have emailed me about that you really want to talk about. Facebook, and then next week I'll be talking about YouTube because those are the two most requested topics from you guys. So if you have topics that you want me to cover, you have things like that, you just email me at joshua@forwardmarketing.com. That's joshua@4rdmarketing.com. And just treat this podcast kind of like I'm your CMO, if you will, or your digital marketing coach. And that's just email me and say, I've got a question about this. Can we do this? The chances of me saying yes we can, or yes, I can cover that on a podcast are pretty high. So go ahead and email me if you have a request. But today we're going to talk about 7 growth marketing tactics on Facebook. And so, and in this process, we're going to actually uncover sort of a formula for your ads, for you to create a great ad on Facebook. But the first growth hacking tip is have a theme of the month. So this is sort of a way to help you create content. And have a theme of the month basically means that it could be like, let's say you really like last week's episode steps, and so you just tell stories for a month. And then next month you talk about the news. And the next month you talk about you give out applicational, something actionable. And then next month you talk, so you go through the whole steps thing and you say, okay, I've got 6 months of content because I've gone through all these different themes. You actually go back and look and see which month you had the most engagement. And that's really going to tell you what you need to do. You could also do theme of the week if you want to speed up that process. So in 6 weeks, you'll say, hey, which week had the most engagement? Just be careful that, is that enough of a sample size for you or not? And that's what you need to know. So tip 1 is have a theme. Have a theme for an extended period of time, and then test that theme to see how much engagement you got around it. So that's step number 1, or tip number 1. Tip number 2 is go native. This sounds so much like a better blog post than it does a podcast. But go native, and that means that the content that you post, if you want engagement around it, particularly around your business page, but also your personal page, needs to be native. So that means when you upload a photo, like when you post, upload the photo, upload the video, don't put things in the content in the post that link outside of Facebook. Facebook does not like that. They don't like it when you link outside of Facebook. So do things that link inside of Facebook and or that are uploaded directly there. And a good rule of thumb is, the sort of Gary Vaynerchuk sort of thinking is that, jab, jab, right hook, which means, provide value, then ask for the sale. So if you're going to do a link, you post 5 times in a week, you should post more than 5. But let's say you post 5 times in a week, then, one of those days you can have a link that goes out, and the other 4 days it needs to be content that you just share on Facebook and Facebook alone. Like, it can be copy and pasted, but don't link to it in Facebook. So that's tip number 2, is go native. Tip number 3 is borrow other people's posts. So in order to do that, you need to know your competitors. You need to know what's out there. So Facebook is great. Right now, they are allowing you to actually have access to everyone's ads, which is crazy. I don't know whose idea that was. But I guess it may create a lot more transparency in the future, which is what's needed. But in any case, right now you can get everyone's ads, and you can also follow people. So follow your competitors, follow people that are maybe celebrities of the type of audience that you want to attract. Follow people who have lots of followers that are in the same sort of space as you, or in the audience's space. And that way you can know your competition, which I guess is kind of a sub-tip, so maybe that's how we get to 7. Actually, that is, I'm looking at my notes, that is number 7, is know your competition. Spoiler alert. So how do you go to, like I said, we just walked over through know your competition, but when you borrow other people's posts, what you want to do is kind of look for, like I said, what kind of post received a lot of engagement. So you want to look for something that has something like 30 likes or more, and something that has a lot of shares. And so how do you do that? You can actually go in to the pages that you've been following, the know your competition part, and look for people that have anywhere from 2,500 to 200,000 followers. And that'll give you a good idea is if this content will actually work for your audience. Is that if their audience is getting a lot of interaction, then you can take that post and sort of copy it and use it for yourself. And nothing wrong with that at all. I see it all the time. We share each other's content. We copy other people's content. I've seen it before. And no one will think less of you if you do it. And it's also a great way to look for good ads. You could slightly alter them if you're worried about, just don't rip anybody off. So when it comes to ads, this is the next step, or the next tip, if you will. When it comes to ads, target pages. And so know your competition. I don't know why I have it as 7. It really should have been at the top, because that's another one. If you've already marked your competition, and they've got 200,000 likes, or 200,000 people following them, you can actually target those people. So it's kind of it's not catch 22. It's kind of like a good and bad thing, I guess, in a sense that you can target your competition, they can target you as well. But you can target people who like famous figures. You can target people who like pages, because you're going to get more. That's if people are engaging with that page, then those people are likely to engage with your page, and that's the idea. Because I'm going to come up with a little strategy for you here at the end. And we're going to talk about what the perfect ad sort of has, and then also what a strategy can be. And if you've nailed the know your competition part, then you're going to have all of the business analytics that you need, or all the marketing analytics that you need in order to do this strategy. So when it comes to ads, target pages. All right, so this is the strategy that I just was sort of teasing. And then we're going to talk about sort of the perfect ad, if you will. So when your page gets going, boost 1, 2, 3. So boost 1, 2, 3 is a way to remember how you boost. So the first day, you just boost to your audience. So if you're going to boost a post, you just want to boost it to your audience. That's pretty straightforward. Then you want to boost to their friends. And so the boosting gives you an option. So the first day you just boost to the people that sort of already like your page, so they can all see it. and that's usually really, really cheap. The next one is a boost to friends of theirs, and which is also great, especially if you're in a service industry and you're using Facebook, or you're using it for social proof. Is that if their friends see something of that, then there's a lot of synergy there. And again, that's relatively cheap as well. But then the third option is to boost to others. So you boost to your audience first, then you boost to your audience's friends, and then you start boosting to people who are on other pages. And that's how you really drive engagement around it. And a good way, and the reason why is that on the first boost, if your audience doesn't engage with the post, then you stop. But if they're engaging with the post, particularly if they're commenting, liking, and sharing, and they're doing all of those three things, then you move to the next step. You say, okay, I'm going to boost to their friends. And if they're engaging with it, then the audience will engage with it that you don't know. But people who know you and already like your page don't engage with the content, then no one else will. So it's a good 1, 2, 3 is a great way to look at this. Is like almost like a funnel or a step. If you don't get to go to step 3 unless step 1 was successful. And so when your pages get going and when your ads get going, boost 1, 2, 3, and I think that's a great strategy. And I'm really proud of myself for sharing that with you. You can't see my face, but I'm making a smiley face, smiley emoji in podcast. Where are emojis for podcasts? I mean, come on, guys. So the last one is basically, since I already stole the thunder and gave you know your competition, but know your competition is so crucial to all these points that I got to get to the formula. So the formula is this: good ads. There's this. Basically, some research was done on all the ads, and the ones that pulled the most, that got the most engagement, was a question plus a value proposition plus a call to action equals the very best ad you could have. So question. If you remember last episode, we talked about creating exclusivity in the content, maybe saying, do you want to get away to a private island? Do you want to relax? Do you want to... I'm thinking about Snickers, and that was a great trigger that I wrote down and did not remember from last week. But Snickers, what do you think of when you're hungry now? Snickers, because they're ads, and that's a great reference for a trigger. So if you tuned in last week, you just got a bonus content for yourself there. But anyway, so question is so you ask a question: did you know, or how many years will your retirement last? Or, whatever question is related to your industry, plus a value proposition. So you're basically going to give some information away for free. In fact, I think that's actually a great strategy for everyone listening, is that I basically give away your information. I basically have had clients where they've called me and they've said, how do I do SEO on my own? And I've walked them through the steps. And then at the end of the conversation, they pretty much hired me on the spot. So that would be things that, so I would just give away the information. So whatever it is, hey, you could book this thing, or you could just have me do it. The same thing goes with financial planning, and that's a great one where you can explain to someone how to do it on their own. But the ones that have significant money to invest, which is the ones that most financial planners want as clients, typically what they'll do is they'll ask that kind of question just to see if the financial planner knows what they're doing before they trust them with the money. So give away the information. So you get a question plus a value proposition. This could also be how you create value in the product. So let's say you're selling a product or software as a service. It doesn't matter what the content is. Why would I want to buy it? People don't buy what it is. They buy why it is. And so, the value proposition of a iPod not iPod. What year is this? 1999. The value proposition of an iPhone might be that it makes you feel cool. You get to be part of the Apple crowd, and so that matches up completely with our STEPS acronym last week, as well as creating a value proposition. There's some value to that of being included in this Apple crowd. So there's a question, there's a value proposition, and the call to action. So every great ad needs a call to action. Call to action could be just buy this, buy now, subscribe now, do this now, call me now, send me a message now. I'm using the word now at the end of everything, but it doesn't have to be now. It could just be, subscribe or whatever, but it needs a call to action. No one, and so we probably have an episode either that I've already done or that I'm going to do about call to actions. But basically that is an essential piece of everything, whether it's a landing page, if you remember the landing page episode, or whether it is anything you're trying to do, a call to action. I remember in sales that, we didn't use the word call to action there, but we used to close. You have to be closing all the time. ABC, always be closing is what they said in sales. And closing is a call to action. So let's get started today. Do you want to get started today? Right? Or you do want to get started today, right? Like that was a call to action. Go ahead, sign here. That's a call to action. So you've got to have all those things. So the three components of the ad is a question, a value proposition, and I would suggest it ties into the why, and a call to action. Basically, you got to tell them what you want them to do. And those three components create a great ad. So to recap, the 7 growth hacking tactics on Facebook is have a theme. Themes help you, like you said, you could use a steps model if you want, but themes help you decide what your audience actually likes. The other one is go native. Facebook will help you if you post native content, if you create videos, Facebook Live, that sort of thing. And it will not help you if you post links. The other one is know your competition. That's number 3. And knowing your competition, you want to go ahead and follow your competitors, follow people who are in your audience. You want to create a profile. You can basically search and see what's going on in your space. Not just the people that are friends of yours on Facebook, but also the other space. Once you do that, it'll allow you to do number 4, which is borrow other people's content. You can get inspiration, you can copy and paste, but you can, and like I said, at this point, you can actually steal their ads. Just don't do anything that's plagiarism. The other thing is, when it comes to ad, target pages. So if you've done number 3, which is know your competition, then you can target those people who already like those pages. So usually there's someone that's always ahead of us. It's rare that I ever meet a business person that says, I am the greatest in the world. You guys are going to love this. It's very rare to have a Michael Jordan where it's very clear to everyone in the room who is the best ever at something, and it is the greatest of all time. And so, in the current world, that might be LeBron, but it's so rare that there's a LeBron. In fact, if we remove LeBron, you'd have a hard time telling me who is the number 1 basketball player in the world right now as we speak. And the easy conversation, greatest of all time, is Michael. But if you take Michael out of the equation, then the conversation even gets more difficult because what do you base it on? So anyway, the whole point of that is to say that most times there's people in front of you, so it's very easy for you to find someone who's doing more than you're doing on Facebook. That was the whole point of that. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. So when it comes to ads, target pages. The other one is when it comes to running ads, or when it comes to boosting ads, remember 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3 is step 1 is your audience. Step 2 is their friends. And step 3 is the people that you don't know. So the people that are the pages that you've already set up as targets. So, and remember, we said that if you do an ad on step 1 and you're not getting engagement, don't move to step 2. Don't waste your money. Save your money on the cheap. Use your money on the cheap ads, and when the cheap ads are working, that means you can spend more money and it'll work on a bigger scale. So, and then finally, we talked about the keys to an ad, and that was a question plus a value proposition plus a call to action. Question and call to action, I think, are easy concepts, but that value proposition, that's where you deliver the information, or where you paint the picture, or where you use the steps from the last episode where we talked about to really just bring some value there to describe what's going on in the ad itself. So that's an ad specific tip. So that's your tips for this week. And hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Like I said, one of my biggest requests is for Facebook. If you have specific requests about Facebook, like how to run the ad manager or anything like that, and you want me to go in depth on that kind of stuff, I'm more than happy to do that. All you got to do is email me at joshua@forwardmarketing.com. I will tell you, though, that if you email me, it would be really great if you also rated and reviewed my podcast wherever you're listening to it, because it helps us grow our followers. I would love it. And just remember, just think of me as your digital marketing coach. And so you can email me your questions, and I'd be more than happy to help. As we've mentioned a few times in this episode, there is no sponsor to the episode. No one's paying me to do this. I am doing this because I love to help businesses grow. And the only way I'm going to know how to help you is if you tell me how to help you. So with that, I look forward to talking to you guys next week about the 7 keys to YouTube success. This is another big topic that people have asked about, like how do I get followers on YouTube? How do I break through? We're going to talk about that next week. So thanks so much for listening, and make it a great day.